Thank you for joining my course on Microsoft Power BI. So in this course, we're going to learn the basics of Microsoft Power BI, how to connect your data, how to shape your data, and how to create a visual. And then we're going to walk through a mini demo together on then we're going to walk through a mini demo together, and that'll be pretty much it. So as again, thank you for joining my class, and come on in. My course on Microsoft Power BI. In this course, we're going to learn the basics of Microsoft Power BI. First, we'll understand how to download Microsoft Power BI. We'll also talk about the core reason as to why Microsoft created Power BI to begin with. And then we'll go ahead and start talking about connecting your data. We'll walk through how to build out a report within Power BI, and then we'll talk about shaping your data within the different tools within Power BI. We'll also create some visuals and then walk through a little demo on sunlight data. Power BI for 3 core reasons. Reason number 1, they wanted us to be able to connect our data to our current source that we currently are using every single day. So for instance, if you use SQL, Excel, Salesforce, Power BI, Oracle, they want you to be able to connect your current data source or database that you currently use to Microsoft Power BI. Number 2, they want us to be able to shape our data. So they want us to be able to remove a column, add in a calculated function, delete out a column, remove a column, rename a column. So that's the reason number 2. Reason number 3, they want you to be able to create this beautiful dashboard or report within Power BI. And so those are the 3 core reasons as to why Microsoft built out Power BI. So now we understand the 3 core reasons. We're just going to go ahead and start talking about how to connect our data. 3 core values. We can go ahead and talk about how to download Microsoft Power BI onto your desktop. First thing we need to understand if our current desktop is either 64-bit or 32-bit, which I did supply a worksheet on how you can figure that out based on your computer type or laptop type. So first things first, we would just go and click into the Microsoft Power BI and click on Get Free, Start for Free, and then we'll click on Try for free here. Then we'll just enter information, and then it'll prompt you through the system of how to download Microsoft Power BI onto your desktop. It's really simple, really easy. Already downloaded Microsoft Power BI on our desktop. Let's go ahead and start talking about connecting our data. So in order to connect your data, on your main home screen, shown in the picture, you would go to Get Data, and there would be a drop-down menu. Then you would pick your data source that you're currently wanting to use. So in this example, we decided to use Excel, so we just click on Excel and then hit Connect. Have connected our data. Let's go ahead and start talking about our report view. So this is a layout of a report view. And so within the report view, there's the ribbon, and that's where it says like number 1, and that's where all your common tasks are associated within the report. Number 2 is our report view, and this is where your visuals are created and arranged, or some people might call it the Canby. Underneath that, where it says number 3, that is our page tab. And so you can add additional pages to your overall report. So you can do that just by clicking on that plus symbol. Then we have number 4, and that is your visual panel. And this is where you can create and add. This is where you can create like your bar graphs. You can create bar graphs here, You can create like a pie graph here. You can create like a map. It's really some really cool features here. And then 5 is your field panel. And so for this example, it's saying that there's like a table set called stat codes. And so that's where that table name will be displayed. And then underneath it, you can drop it down and show like every single individual column within that overall table. Connected the data and reviewed the dashboard settings/report view. We can start talking about adjusting the data to meet our needs within the query editor. So within the query editor, you can rename a column or a table, change text to numbers, remove rows, or delete columns, and so much more. Within the query editor, there is the query editor settings panel, and that's where the arrow is pointing at. And this is where all the steps associated within the query editor are displayed. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that on our next slide. Talk through each steps in this particular example. So this is the query editor settings. And so they decided to add, it says source, so they decided to add a data source. So that data source could have been an Excel or a SQL source. And then they said they wanted to maybe change the type. So within their query editor, the numbers may have been in decimal form and they want to change it to like whole numbers or vice versa. So it shows up like that. Then they decided to remove a column within their data set. So they removed it and it showed up as they removed that data set. But if you would like to go back to the previous step, you would just right click and then hit delete, and you would just delete that step out. How your query editor appears once your data is connected. And on the top, this is your ribbon, and this is where your common tasks are associated within the report. The left panel, number 2, is where the queries are listed and available. Number 3 is the center panel, and this is where your data set appears. Number 4 is your query editor setting panel, and we talked about that in the previous slide, but this is where all the steps associated with the query are displayed. The editor contains 4 tabs: the Home, the Transform tab, Add a Column tab, and the View. The Transform tab pretty much is like where you can add or remove a column, change your data type, split a column, and other data-driven tasks on this column. Your Add a Column, this is pretty much where you can add in a column, format a column, add in a custom column, pretty much anything on like adding a column, substituting a column. That's pretty much what that tab is. The View tab is where you can also find your advanced editor and your query settings icons there. Just a dashboard this sample dashboard that was built out. So now that we have understanding how to connect our data, shape our data, and we also understand like how to create a visual report, we're going to go into our demo next. So the next section of this workshop will be actually creating a dashboard ourselves. Channel, and this is the area you can select the different types of visuals. So you can select like maybe a bar graph, the map graph. There's different types of graphs here. And all you would do is just select the graph and then drag it to your report view. And then you can be able to change, arrange, and redesign your graph within your report view here. Very important when creating dashboards. Sometimes you want to create one single number. Like just you want to track one single number, and you would do that on something called a card. So cards can be used to maybe track your KPI, your total sales for that month, your market shares year over year, your total opportunity cost for that year. But you can also use a graph, a bar graph shown in the upper right-hand corner. And you would use like maybe last year's colors in the dark green, and then this year's in the lighter green color. And you're just pretty much showing this year's sales versus last year's sales with the growth margin line going through. Welcome back to my course on Microsoft Power BI. In this section of the course, we'll be working through a little demo on sunlight data. And so in order to do that, first things first, we need to open up Microsoft Power BI on your desktop. So here I already have Microsoft Power BI open up on my desktop. And so we're going to go to the top. This is our ribbon. And we're going to click on Get Data. There will be a drop down, and we're going to click on Excel because we're working out of an Excel sheet for our example today. So we're going to click on Excel. Then we're going to click on sunlight data because this is the Excel sheet that we'll be using. Then we're going to click on Open, and then we're going to wait till it loads up. So give it some time. Then we'll get to this page right here will pop up, our navigation page. We're going to click on our data set, which is sunlight. And you can see all of our columns here and all the data that we'll be working with today. So at the top right here is our column. We have period. We have our element, one column. Then we have January, February, March, April, all of our months on top, and then our annual value. Now we are going to click on the load button in order to load up our data set into our Microsoft Power BI, into our Microsoft Power BI worksheet today. So we're just going to click on load here. We're going to give it some time to load. It's loading the data sheets up. And we're going to wait till it completely loads. Okay, so our Excel sheet has completely loaded, and now that data set is currently in our dashboard here. And so it's saying there's one of the error queries there's one of the rows, I guess, has like an error. So it loaded 2,479 rows, and 37 of them had an error. So I guess we're going to talk about these errors on our next video. So till then, I'll see you then. Data set, and we see there are some errors within the data set itself. We're just going ahead and push close here. And now we want to add in a column. So we're going to go back to the top where this is our ribbon at, and we're going to tab over to modeling, And then we're going to hit new column. So right here it says new column. So we tabbed over from the home screen over 1, 2, and now we're just going to hit new column here. So we're going to click on new column. Okay, and so this is our new column, like it appears like right here. This is how we're going to add in a new column. We're going to name our new column statement. You can, for this pure example, we're going to name it statement. Okay. Then we want to make, we're going to kind of create like an if-then statement here. So we're going to say, for this data set, we're going to say if, so click on the if. So we're creating like a logical statement. So we're going to say if, then we're going to create the logical test, then the results of the test, and then the results of the if-then statement. So it'll be in this format right here. So right now we're just going to click on the if, double click on that. So now it's our logical test. And so we want to say is sun, and we want to do it for January. So sunlight data for January, for the month of January. We're going to double click on that. Is greater than 10. Then we're going to say, well, we have to put a colon there first. Then we're going to say if it's greater than 10, then we're going to say it's false. So greater than 10. Your results. So it's greater than 10, then the results. So the if then results. We're going to say it's false. And then or if it's true. Then we're going to close the parentheses. So pretty much what we're saying here is we want to know all the days in January where there was sunlight for 10 hours or more for each location. So now we're just going to hit the enter button. And we're going to let it load. And you can see on our field column, on our field panel, that we have created that column, the statement column here. Added in our if-then statement. We're going to tab you back over to our home screen here, because in this module, we want to do two things. We want to rename a column and also add in a custom column. So the first thing we want to do is rename a column. And here's one way to rename a column. There's multiple ways to rename a column, but the one way we're going to use, we're going to go from the home screen on your ribbon. You're going to see transform data. You're going to click on the drop down menu, hit the transform data icon, click on it. A new window will pop up, and now you are in the Power BI query editor. So this is the Power BI query editor. And so within the Power BI query editor, we want to rename our period column. This column right here, we want to rename it as years, So in order to do that, we're going to right click on it. Right click on it or click on it. And then we're going to go down and it says rename right here. And we're just going to type in year. And then hit the enter button. And that column is renamed and is also displayed here. We renamed a column. on the query editor setting panel. We also want to rename our countries and tariffs column. So we're going to see if we can find that column. It might be over here. So this column we want to rename. So we're going to click on it. We're going to drop down to rename and to just have country on it. And we're going to hit the enter button. And that column is now renamed. I'm going to make this window a little bit bigger so I can see everything on the screen. And now we want to create that custom column. So in order to create the custom column, we're going to go to our ribbon again. This is the top, this is our ribbon. And we're going to tab over to the tab that says add column. So add column. Then under the add column tab, it says custom column. We're going to click on, there's a custom column if you want to add a custom column, but we're going to click on the conditions column because we want to add a condition to our sunlight data set. So we're going to click on that. And this is similar to an if-then statement, but it's like creating like a condition within the column. So we're going to name it annual sunlight. And then we're going to name it, we're going to go to the column that says annual. And we're going to leave that equal. And we want to take out our negatives, 999.99, and make them 0. So wherever you see in the annual column, I guess I should show you the annual column first. So we're going to hit cancel. And I'm going to show you the annual column. So in the annual column, we are having these negative numbers, and this is creating that error. So I want to get rid of those negative numbers in this column because we don't really need negative numbers. I only want positive numbers in my annual column. I don't want negative numbers. And so in order to do that, I'm going to go to the conditions column. And I'm going to create a mini condition. So we're going to title this annual. Sunlight. We're going to go down to the annual column because that's the column that we're trying to remove the negatives in. So anything that sees negative 999.9, we want that to be a 0. And it's in the else column. So we're going to drop down to say select the column. It's in our annual column. And then we're going to hit OK. So we created a new column that says annual. Best should we start early and understand more or less why it's occurring. So you can see in this column, we have null values. And a null value is a field that appears to be blank, but there are no zeros represented there. And so this may be one reason why that error is occurring. So we want to delete this column out. In order to do that, we're just going to right click on the column and then hit remove. And so it shows up here on our query editor panel display that we removed a column. And then there's also null values in this column. We don't really need either. So we're just going to do the same thing. Click on it, hit remove the column, and we remove that column. So now that we're done with all that, we want to go back up. We're on the add a column tab. We want to go back to the home screen. So we're just going to go from add a column, go back to the home screen, click on the home screen one, and then we're going to click on this little drop down and hit close and apply the changes that we just made. So just waiting for the changes to load. And so we closed out our query editor panel settings. So that brings us back to the main screen of Power BI Desktop. And now it's saying that it's pretty much it's waiting to apply the changes. So it's applying the changes right now. And now we don't have that error message anymore because it disappeared because we made those two changes where we deleted out the null values in both of those columns. We decided to delete those two columns because we really don't need it for our data set.